Have you ever heard of a spirit so persistent, so violent, that even seasoned investigators like Ed and Lorraine Warren were left disturbed? This isn't a ghost story made for the movies, this is the real-life tale of the Enfield Poltergeist. A haunting that gripped an entire town, and for years, baffled everyone who came near it. Let's journey back to where it all began. It was August 1977, in the quiet suburb of Enfield, North London. The Hodgson family, Peggy, a single mother, and her 4 children, lived in a modest council house on Green Street. Life wasn't easy, but it was stable, until something began to change. It started with strange noises, banging sounds in the night. Furniture moving on its own. Drawers sliding open. Peggy initially thought it was the kids playing pranks. But what mother wouldn't? That changed on one chilling night. Peggy was startled from her sleep by her daughter Janet screaming. When she ran to check, the chest of drawers in their room was shaking violently, and then it slid across the room, blocking the door. When Peggy tried to move it back, it wouldn't budge, as if invisible hands were holding it down. She knew something was wrong. This wasn't a prank. This was something else, something dark. The activity escalated quickly. The knocking grew louder, always coming in threes. Lights flickered. Cold spots would suddenly form in rooms. Toys launched across the room. Chairs levitated. 11-year-old Janet began showing the most disturbing signs. She was reportedly thrown from her bed. Witnesses claimed she would go into trances, speak in deep, unnatural voices, and contort her body in ways that seemed inhuman. One of the most disturbing events. When neighbors and local police officers came over to investigate, they too witnessed chairs wobbling and objects flying on their own. One officer even signed an official statement declaring she saw a chair rise from the floor and slide nearly 4 feet. The press caught wind, and the house became a hotspot. Paranormal investigators, photographers, journalists, they all came to 284 Green Street. And they all left with stories they couldn't explain. Janet's episodes became the most talked about aspect of the case. During interviews, she would suddenly switch into a gravelly voice, one that claimed to be a man named Bill Wilkins. The voice would say chilling things like, "Just before I died, I went blind, and then I had a hemorrhage and I fell asleep and died in the chair in the corner." When investigators tracked down Bill Wilkins' son, they confirmed that a man by that name had died in that exact house years earlier, just as Janet described, even though she had no way of knowing that. To skeptics, it was ventriloquism. To believers, it was undeniable possession. In 1978, about a year into the haunting, Ed and Lorraine Warren traveled from the United States to England after hearing about the chaos in Enfield. While the Society for Psychical Research had already been investigating the case, the Warrens were drawn to it due to the extreme level of activity and the clear signs of demonic influence. Lorraine immediately felt a dark presence inside the house. She described it as one of the most oppressive atmospheres she had ever experienced. Ed believed there was more than one entity at play. He suspected a demonic force might be using the spirit of Bill Wilkins as a cover. A common trick in demonology, he claimed, where something more sinister hides behind a seemingly harmless ghost. The Warrens didn't stay for long, but their involvement left a strong impression. Ed believed that the haunting was real and dangerous. Lorraine, though visibly shaken, warned the family to seek spiritual protection. They offered prayers and attempted to bless the home, but the disturbances continued even after their departure. The Enfield case was divisive. Some investigators believed the girls, mainly Janet, were faking the events. There were moments caught on camera where Janet seemed to be bending spoons or throwing items. But those who spent time in the house insisted, no child could fake everything that went on. The lead investigator for the SPR, Maurice Gross, was convinced of its authenticity. He witnessed things move on their own, voices he couldn't explain, and Janet levitating, caught in mid-air by a camera rigged to take pictures every 15 seconds. Still, skepticism loomed large. Was it hysteria? A hoax? Or something real? For the Hodgson family, the experience was anything but theatrical. Janet missed long periods of school. She was ridiculed by classmates and questioned by the media. She later admitted that some incidents may have been exaggerated by her or her siblings, but she stood by her claim that most of what happened was real. The haunting began to fade by late 1978. The house slowly returned to normal, or as normal as it could be. But the scars remained. Janet later said that even into adulthood, she felt like she was being watched. The house never quite lost its coldness. And for the rest of their lives, the Hodgsons were tied to a chapter they never wanted. As for Ed and Lorraine Warren, the Enfield case became one of many that would cement their controversial legacy. Though they weren't the lead investigators, their involvement added spiritual weight to the haunting. Ed later said that demonic forces thrive on attention, and in this case, the media frenzy only fed the darkness. Lorraine, in her quiet conviction, remained deeply unsettled by the experience. Though many skeptics dismissed their conclusions, the Enfield case lived on as another notch in their long list of chilling investigations. So, what really happened on Green Street? Was it a hoax carried out by attention-seeking children? A misunderstood psychological event? Or a genuine brush with the supernatural? To this day, no one can say for certain. But the Enfield Poltergeist remains one of the most thoroughly documented hauntings in modern history. And for Ed and Lorraine Warren, it was yet another reminder that evil doesn't hide in castles or graveyards, it can creep into the lives of ordinary people, in ordinary homes, when they least expect it. Some say the spirits still linger at 284 Green Street. Others believe the energy has long since faded. But for those who were there, for the Hodgson family, for Ed and Lorraine Warren, what they saw, what they heard, what they lived, can never be forgotten. Because in the world of the paranormal, truth is often stranger, and far more terrifying, than fiction.